Welcome to the Double R Show, the podcast that features everything about North Lincoln County. The Double R Show, directed and produced by Paul Robertson and hosted by the voice of Lincoln City, Roger Robertson.
And welcome to the Double R Show, Double R along with Son Paul. And today we have an opportunity to talk about a movie. We have an opportunity to talk about a school. And Mary Guss is going to join us as well.
Yeah, so we've got the Biosphere Collaborative representative here, Mary Guss, and Toby Winn from Neighbors for Kids. He's the executive director of development there, been there 19 years.
Yes.
And then we're going to hear a little bit about a documentary story that's going to be at the Bijou. And Rick Mark is going to join us to talk a little bit about that, and we'll do that right after this.
Saturday, April 12th, Chinook Winds presents a special one-night-only tribute to the one and only Bob Seger. It's Forever Seger, with authentic vocals and commanding performances, and the unmistakable Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band sound. Tickets start at just $20. Reserved by phone at 888 Main Act, online at ChinookWindsCasino.com, or at the Chinook Winds box office. This is a 16 and older event. Forever Seger, Saturday, April 12th at Chinook Winds Casino Resort, where concerts are better at the beach.
19 years has got to be some kind of record going on right now for Toby Winn with Neighbors for Kids. 19 years in that position.
Yep, I somehow, brought that up when I first arrived here today. It's been almost 2 decades. Time flies when you're having fun with lots of kids, I guess.
Does it seem like it's been 19 years for you, Toby?
Right now, yes. It sure seems like it flew by, but it also, when you think about everything we've accomplished, and the growth we've had physically and programmatically and just the scope of our services, and then it definitely feels like 90 years.
Just the school, the building, the physical building is changed immeasurably since it began.
Yes, it has. I mean, when we first began, we were founded in 1999. We were just one little table in the corner of the local church in Depoe Bay. And then we got the little building up off 101, which you guys might remember is about 700 square feet. And then as I was hired and wore my heart on my sleeve and, had a degree from U of O and I was just running a Boys and Girls Club in Eugene, I came back with my career here because I felt Lincoln County needed it. And then we went from 700 square feet after a lot of fundraising, of course, and miracles and blessings, to 7,600 square feet facility.
And how many students?
Oh boy, per day or the whole time? I mean, I'd say we've served a couple thousand kids by now. I mean, on a daily basis in our programs, in our preschool, because now we have a preschool too. 3 to 5 year olds, we're seeing up to about a dozen a day, and that's a good amount for those little guys. And then we're seeing after school program anywhere from 30 to 40s. And in the summertime, we've had moments where we've hit even, 50 to 70 per day.
When the school first started, it was originally intended to service the children of the Depoe Bay community, but that's no longer the case.
Yeah, when it first started, it was mainly because our founder saw issues with the teenagers in Depoe Bay and worried about, just some
what was going on,
potential juvenile delinquency. And so to stop that, it was Neighbors Against Drugs, we actually were called in the very beginning. Most people don't know because it was more of a prevention effort. And for older kids, the teens, and give them some place to be. Let's look out for them because they're our social responsibility as a community, whether they're your kids or not. But yeah, so since then, we've really responding to the needs that we've seen grow here over the years in Lincoln County. It's a childcare desert, they call it, one of many in Oregon. So we added a preschool. We now have been a licensed childcare center through Oregon Department of Early Learning and Care through the state. We're one of only 2 in the entire county. The only other one that has a dedicated facility like that is Samaritan Early Learning that Samaritan operates for preschool. And they're mainly for the little guys and a few older kids. And we have little guys and way more older kids. So oftentimes there's some cross-sector services and referrals going on, between our organizations.
Now, as you dream down to the world, I mean, you've been in this a couple of decades. The next decade is going to bring what?
Oh boy, honestly, what we need is, we need strategic planning, which we just did for the next 3 years. We need to
Okay.
make some very good
Tell me.
decisions. We're looking at basically hiring the right staff, building to mirror our population, especially the ethnic diversity that has grown so drastically in Lincoln County over the years. So to try to better mirror that population we see within our teachers and our staff, and as well as our board of directors, it's one of our priorities. And another one is just developing capacity around money, around sustainability. We'd love to grow, maybe over the next 10 years, a miracle could happen. And if we had enough funding and funding wasn't an issue, we'd love to expand our program.
Speaking of funding, where does your money come from?
Anywhere possible.
Okay.
Well, I'd say that most of it, and I wish it wasn't this way, comes from grants and grant foundations. Most of them family foundations. And honestly, most of it comes from away from Lincoln County. The larger dollars, those would be like the largest Northwest foundations, over the years. And then the tribes, Silet's tribe, Grand Ronde tribe have been very generous and give to us, help us move our mission forward. Individual donations, fundraisers. That's part of our planning is developing some new things, new pockets of money that we try to generate from different sources. So we can't keep going after the same thing year after year after year. You have to
One of the big ones
change.
you used to have was a golf tournament.
Yeah, we
Is that
still have a golf
going?
tournament,
All right.
and that's glad you mentioned that because we're in our 16th annual Kids Zone Classic charity golf tournament coming up July 19th this year. So I don't know if there's any more in Lincoln County that can say 16 years on there.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had as many, at least 70 or 80 golfers, and as many as like 125 before.
Well, you've also had some superstars that have played in that golf tournament for many years.
Yes, we are lucky that we had the guest celebrity Dan Fouts,
Yes,
U of O
yes,
alumni and
yes.
San Diego Charger and Hall of Famer. And he's been there a lot of the times, I'd say the majority. And yeah, he was there last year. Yeah, and we're hoping that he can join us again this year.
What possesses somebody to get involved with Neighbors for Kids?
You mean possesses someone like me or just people
Or
in general?
In general.
Well, in general,
That, for instance, doesn't have children within the school, but sees the need, sees the reason to be there.
I'd say just the excitement of learning for kids and keeping kids safe and giving them a supervised, cool place to be together. And but there's so much we do now. Something different could resonate with everybody. Maybe just the fact we feed kids healthy food every day, that we
very
cook
good.
every meal from scratch. And maybe because we do field trips and they want to go surfing with us, like he has. Maybe it's because we do academic and homework help, and reading and math and science. And that's so important to them. But we also do the arts, the visual arts. We offer free music lessons year round. And we do martial arts now as well. See, there's gardening and sports. And if you think of it, we've got kind of everything any kid could ever want going on in one environment. And I think that's why all of us people are so different in what we love and what resonates with us. So, I'm looking at my list and I don't even think I have time to read all the things we have going on there. But a lot of it's just being a caring adult, a mentor, and offering that social emotional support, just getting a bond. And
Is there places where people can volunteer?
there are places they can volunteer, whether it's in the facility or out. And, we have some pretty intensive, screening processes we go through, but we're developing back in more of a structured, targeted tutoring program soon. And that's a great chance for like retired school teachers and such to come in and teach math or read books with kids or help them get that core academics down, But there's lots of different opportunities, special events, golf tournament, Easter egg hunt we're going to run next month in the park. There's a lot going on, and we are developing a volunteer coordinator position to better field volunteers, get them background checked, plug them into something they love to do, and get them involved.
We're out of time, but I want to ask one final question. If there's a misconception about Neighbors for Kids, what would it be, and how do we approach that?
I'd say the misconception is that we're fully funded, like say our government and some of maybe our state education budget is with the schools. We have to raise every penny as we go and spend it as we go every single day all year. And a lot of that's my job. But the misconception might be that we look so successful and have this fancy vehicles in a building, but it's taken an incredible amount of work and, like I say, hard work, miracles, and blessings to get there. And we wouldn't be able to do it without philanthropy, without people giving. So really philanthropy and grant foundations and the tribes and individuals giving time and money is why we exist.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
If you build a relationship, then it becomes easier. If you build trust, it becomes easier. As a parent, you want what's best for your child. To give them the love that a child needs is probably the best you can do for a teenager.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt U.S. Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Home-style cooking in a hometown atmosphere. Hi, I'm Adina from Zeller's Restaurant in Rose Lodge in Lincoln City. Join us daily for good fun and great food. You can even kick up your heels at Zeller's.
You'll find a book for every occasion at Bob's Beach Books. Something to read as you relax by an open fire? We have it. Studying a particular topic? We have that too. Traveling to a far-off land? Discover it first by reading. Bob's Beach Books in the Ocean Lake area of Lincoln City? Come discover.
Zantello Law Group has moved. I'm Josh Zantello, and our law firm is now located across from the Lincoln City Community Center on Northeast 21st. Our law firm of knowledgeable professionals stand ready to assist you in life's matters.
No Other Land. Rick Mark is here to talk about No Other Land, and that is a documentary. It's going to be at the Bijou Theater. You're presenting this, right?
My wife, Britt Nelson, and I are sponsoring the showing, basically renting the theater for a couple hours on the 22nd. The show starts at 11, doors open at 10:30. This is a documentary that just won an Oscar in L.A. Easy way to put it is it's about life on the West Bank of what some people call Palestine, where Palestinians live under Israeli military rule, which means they're subject to the whims of that rule. And if they cross some line or whatever, for reasons that I'm not clear on, the Israeli military will come in and tear down people's homes and schools and buildings and leave people destitute. So this documentary is about that life.
Why are you presenting this? What's your motivation for it, Rick?
The bigger background story is that I have a brother who's Israeli. My younger brother, Bob, has lived there for over 40 years. And almost all that time, in a village that's in Israel that's made up today, it's about 90 families. Half of them are Jewish and half are Arabs. The village is known as Neve Shalom Wahat al-Salam, which in English translates to Oasis of Peace. And the whole purpose of the village is to show that Jews and Arabs can live together.
Can come together.
Peacefully, yeah. Okay. And the schools in that village, I'll try not to go into too much on the village, but you'll see why it matters. For example, the primary schools where children go to school in that village, every class is taught by both a Hebrew-speaking teacher and an Arabic-speaking teacher.
Interesting.
And they're taught each other's culture. They celebrate each other's holidays. My brother lived there teaching English to children, and he, in the course of events, learned to speak Hebrew and Arabic. He raised 3 daughters who are now in their 30s with kids of their own, and they were all brought up to speak English, Hebrew, and Arabic. Some of them have gone on to other languages as well. The youngest daughter, her name is Maya. And incidentally, my Israeli family, we had a family reunion here in Lincoln City just last August. So all these people I'm talking about have been to Lincoln City actually a couple times. Maya, with her Arab-speaking skills, got involved in doing some community work on the West Bank, helping people in need, Palestinians who needed whatever sort of help it was that somebody in that situation might need. She also became friends several years ago with an Israeli journalist. His name is Yuval Abraham. And I'm told I actually met Yuval about 8 years ago when Britt and I visited in Israel. And Yuval and Maya were seeing each other at the time. And Yuval was at my brother's house. So to be honest, I don't actually remember the encounter. It was a large family gathering. I met a lot of people.
Right.
Yuval was one of them. Yuval, through his connection to my niece Maya, saw some value in learning Arabic himself, so he did. And evidently Yuval's grandparents, one set of grandparents came from Europe and were children of Holocaust survivors, and the other set of grandparents came from the Arab nation of Yemen.
Wow.
So he had that kind of mixed background. They're Jews, I'm sure, but Jews live all over the place. And I should mention, I was brought up in a Jewish family. We are Jewish ourselves. So Yuval, his connection with my niece Maya, started to learn Arabic. And as a journalist, he got to know people on the West Bank, became very friendly with this fellow named Bassel Adra. If you saw the Oscar Awards ceremony on March 2nd, you saw Bassel Adra and Yuval Abraham.
I did.
Those were the two that spoke, that accepted the award for this Oscar-winning documentary. And they worked with two other people, also another Palestinian, another Israeli, to make this film. And they did it over 4 years. I think it was 2019 to 2023. The filming was completed before that horrible October 7th attack that was so awful, and the attacks on Gaza. But this all predates the Gaza experience. So there's my connection to the film. Evidently, my niece Maya actually can be seen in the film at some point, and I think she might even have a film credit. So, and her last name is Mark. So you'll see Maya Mark as a film credit. So this is a highly acclaimed film. It won awards all around the world, in Berlin, Copenhagen, other places. But it had difficulty finding a distributor in the United States for political reasons. They didn't, for business reasons, they did not want to distribute this film. Finally, a way to distribute it was found, and it started to appear in Los Angeles, New York. About a month ago, it was in Seattle. It came to Portland just a couple of weeks ago. I called Betsy Altamare at the Bijou and said, well, if Cinema 21 in Portland can get it, can you get it? And she did.
So the bottom line is the documentary will be shown at the Bijou on
Saturday.
On Saturday.
Coming up.
Okay.
March 22.
March 22.
11 a.m. Doors open at 10:30, $10 tickets.
Okay.
Maya sent me a link to an organization, it's called Center for Jewish Nonviolence, I believe, that is raising money to help the people of this region in the West Bank. The region is known as Masafer Yatta. And I hope it's okay with people, but I've announced that Britt and I will donate the funds, the proceeds from the tickets to this organization to help the people in Masafer Yatta. I should say 40% of the ticket sales, 40% of the ticket sales goes to this distributor who is distributing the films. And I don't know this, but I'm guessing that some portion of that must go to the filmmakers themselves, I would think.
Hopefully.
But the other 60% is I get to do what I want with, to be honest. And so I'm going to send it to this community on the West Bank.
Rick, Mark, we look forward to the film. We look forward to seeing that. We look forward to seeing you there and getting your take on what the experience is. And I would ask you to complete the story with telling us what you hope to be the takeaway people will get from it.
My brother in Israel said he hopes people see the truth of what is going on on the West Bank. There's a lot of criticism from both sides on this film, and I haven't seen the film, so we'll see what it's about.
Wouldn't it be great to have all your insurance needs handled by one agency? This is Charlotte Lado with Farmers Insurance and the Insurance Store. Visit our office next to the Wildflower Grill in Lincoln City. Let us be your one stop for your personal, commercial, health, and Medicare insurance needs.
We at La Roca are proud of our food, but don't take our word for it. Read the reviews. One person wrote, the service was friendly and efficient. Another writes, La Roca has become one of our favorites because it's authentic Mexican food.
Welcome back to the Double R Show. With us is Mary Guss, and Mary is a board member of the Cascade Head Biosphere Collaborative. But you got a law background.
I do have a law background. I actually graduated from law school at Lewis & Clark in Portland in 1976. And when I was going to law school, I spent a couple summers in Lincoln City working at B'nai B'rith summer camp. So my connection here goes back a long ways. It's been a little zigzaggy to get back here, but here I am.
Rather steeped in Lincoln City one way or another, are you
Exactly. Yeah.
What brought you back to Lincoln City?
Well, I graduated from law school, and I went to Alaska for 30 years. I started out practicing, actually clerking for a judge on a one-year contract, and ended up staying 30 years. And it was a great place to practice law. Small town.
Juneau or where?
Ketchikan.
Okay.
Everybody was very collaborative. Yeah, there was no backstabbing. So I did that. But whenever I could, I would come down to Lincoln City for a few days at a time, just because I'd fallen in love with the place when I spent summers here in the early 70s.
Now, you mentioned a special word that ties into why we have you here, collaborative.
Yes.
Cascade Head Biosphere Collaborative, in your estimation, is what?
Well, the big organization of the collaborative is stewardship of a remarkable place that we're all lucky enough to live in and recreate in and be able to spend time in. The board of the collaborative is a small group of people who care greatly about this place where they live and work and want to share that with other people.
The collaborative, the Cascade Head Biosphere Collaborative, is not something that keeps people out, but engages people within, correct?
Correct. Part of what we want to do is show people that the nature and work and living can all jointly occur in a place and not harm any of the three legs.
What's the best way we can let people know about that?
Outreach, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Education, learning and sharing what we've learned. All those things are very important to the collaborative.
Now, if somebody wants to get involved with the collaborative like you, Mary, what do they do? Who do they talk to? How does you go about doing that?
If they want to be involved on a volunteer level, we have a volunteer committee, and Dan Twitchell and I sort of co-chair that committee, and they can get in touch with us or anybody else on the board for that matter, and they can participate in any of the events that we have ongoing during the year. If they're interested in doing more, being on the board, we still have room for a few additional board members. They could talk to any one of us about that as well.
Now, I know, talking to son Paul, a lot of the monies that you have to operate from come from grants, correct?
A lot of the monies come from grants, yes. And your son Paul writes a beautiful grant, I would like to say.
That in itself is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and it's a special skill. It's not everybody who can sit down and put things to paper that people who are making grants want to read.
Now, you've got a background. Let's go back into the law situation, because you have been steeped in tribal law, as I understand it.
Well, I decided one law degree wasn't enough.
Oh,
so
I see. Okay.
I went back to school in 2008 to the University of Arizona, and they have a one-year program there in Indigenous Peoples Law and Policy. So I took that program and graduated in 2009. Then they put me to work in the program after I graduated.
In Arizona?
In Arizona,
Okay.
which was a bit of an adjustment from Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I stayed there for 8 years working with the school, and I established a clinic class that did some outreach to the tribes and did will writing, basically. We taught students how to interview clients and produce a document for them to sign, that sort of thing, which was pretty exciting to them.
When we're talking about the law, tribal law, is there a huge difference between that and, say, what you learned at Lewis and Clark?
There is, yes.
Okay, tell me.
Well, in this country, really, we have three sovereigns. We have the federal government, we have state governments, and we have tribal governments. And each of those have their own court systems. So, yeah, tribes are their own sovereigns and can govern what happens on the reservation with their own people. And then, of course, there's law about how do each of those relate, how do state and tribal relate, how do federal and tribal relate, who has jurisdiction over what issues, and all those complexities.
So now you are here in Lincoln City. Are you involved in tribal law in the state of Oregon?
I go to Umatilla in Pendleton, Oregon. Before COVID, I was going out 3 or 4 times a year and meeting with clients and writing wills and having them sign the wills before I left so we would know that they got it done. When COVID came along, I started doing a lot more work on Zoom, which was a little more frustrating, and some people were not set up to do that. Now that hopefully COVID is behind us, I'm trying to get back out there more often.
On the law side, you're not into criminal law then?
I did a fair amount of criminal
okay.
law when I was practicing. That was the joy of practicing in a small town, is you did a fair amount of everything. every kind of case. So, yeah, I did. But now, no, I've gone away from that.
It's interesting that you mentioned you went from Alaska to Arizona. You went from one of the wettest cities on the North American continent, Ketchikan, to one of the driest areas in the North American continent, Arizona.
I went from 160 inches of rain a year to 11 inches of rain a year. That was a major adjustment. And I went from a huge rainforest to a desert. Also an adjustment.
Well, welcome home.
Oh, thank you. I can breathe again.
Can breathe again. Mary Guss, board member of Cascade Head Biosphere Collaborative. And again, if somebody wants to be involved in the collaborative, they do what, Mary?
They can call any one of the board members. They can go to our website, cascadehead.org, and reach out through that. They can come to any of our events, and we always have sign-up sheets there.
If you're looking for great early garden fresh produce, it's Kenny's IGA in the Bay Area of Lincoln City. 4 generations of Morgans caring for your every grocery need. All of your favorite beverages, a full deli, meat, produce, and of course, groceries.
Northwest Septic Service is your one-stop shop for all your septic needs.
Northwest Septic Service offers pumping, maintenance, repair, and inspections with one call, 541-994-6977.
Buying or selling a home? Northwest Septic Service can inspect your sewer line or an entire septic system.
Old or failing septic system? Northwest Septic Service can rejuvenate most drain fields, saving you thousands of dollars. 541-994-6977.
Serving Lincoln, Tillamook, and Yamhill counties, Northwest Septic Service. Well, we're close to the closing end of the Double R show, but again, the Oregon Parks and Rec Department sent us a notice reminding all visitors and those residents as well to the Oregon coast. This is the snowy plover nesting season, so be mindful of that.
Right, and there's some specific areas that are typically up north from, I think, where we're at.
Correct.
But if you're in one of those areas, that's it's time to keep it down. And obviously no dogs and the like running free and chasing around areas that are potential nesting habitats.
And that really holds true for not only the birds and the animals that are on the beach, but those in the forest as well, all of the deer, the different wildlife animals. The wildlife, it's their habitat, leave them alone.
Yeah, and you think about Cascade Head too. The Nature Conservancy owns that. And one of their rules is, no dogs. And it's not because they don't think dogs can't, behave themselves, but just the scent of the dog is enough to scare away other animals that are, using that habitat for their own survival.
Some other activities we'd like to make mention of. Veterans have a free homemade and soup and sandwich lunch sponsored by the Lincoln City Elks Lodge. This takes place twice a month, the second and fourth Wednesdays, noon to 2. And speaking of free lunches for veterans, coming up during Community Days on the 23rd of April, there's going to be a free hamburger luncheon at the Lincoln City Veterans Park, the Ed Johann Veterans Park here in Lincoln City, and that's sponsored by the American Legion Post 97. Third annual Home and Garden Show, and we're going to have Habitat for Humanity people on with us, I believe, next week.
I think so, yeah.
And we'll talk in depth about the third annual Home and Garden Show going to be taking place at the Newport Rec office down in Newport. This is the third annual. The first 2 years were held in Lincoln City. This year, they're moving it to the other location where they have another Habitat for Humanity store as well. You're cordially invited to the Taft High Annual Career and Community College Fair on April the 16th, 9 to noon. This is an opportunity to showcase your business, college, or trade school in front of the entire student body. Reserve your space by calling Samantha Escalati up at Taft High School, 996-2115. Sam's extension is 136. We were talking a little bit about community days. I'd like to remind everybody you have an opportunity to nominate somebody for an award that is doing good things for our community. We are looking for nominations for Volunteer of the Year, Leader of the Year, Innovator of the Year, Unsung Hero, and Emerging Achievers. So those are the 5 categories. So we have people of all ages.
Yeah, it's a really nice way of looking at the community, I think. It's a nice way of representing and supporting those folks that are doing things in the community. And so we need those nominations in. So
And don't sit back and say, well, why wasn't so-and-so nominated?
Right. You got to be the one to nominate to get
You
these
have
people
the
nominated.
opportunity to do it and do it right now. So get your paper and pencil out or get on the computer, whichever the case may be, and make those nominations known. Anything else your side of the table?
No, just one more thing is we've got another event at the Pelican coming up here April 3rd. That's a Thursday from 6 to 7:30. It's one of the Natural Arts and Sciences on Tap presentations, and it's called A Warming Planet. So we've got a statewide expert that's going to be speaking Thursday, April 3rd, 6 to 7:30. RSVP at cascadehead.org.
And that'll do it to the doings on the Double R Show. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share so you, your family, and friends around the world and across the street can join us on the Double R Show. And we got people around the world that actually listen to the show, right?
Indeed.
Join us again next week. For Paul and Jenna, I'm Double R. Have a happy day.
You've been listening to The Double R Show. Join Roger and Paul Robertson as they explore everything about North Lincoln County. The Double R Show, produced by Always Productions and hosted by Roger Robertson. Have a story? Email contact@alwaysproductions.com or call 458-201-3039. For The Double R Show, I'm Jana Grawn.